Sarah's ultrasound photo lay face down on Michael's desk, the black and white image burning into his consciousness like a brand of shame. The soft glow of his phone illuminated another message from Jessica, his colleague of 8 months. His fingers hovered over the screen, trembling slightly as guilt and desire waged their familiar war in his mind. "I miss you," the message read. 3 simple words that carried the weight of destroyed vows and broken trust. 6 months into Sarah's pregnancy, Michael found himself trapped in a web of his own making. The affair hadn't started with grand intentions or passionate declarations. Like many catastrophic mistakes, it began with small compromises. Late nights at the office, innocent coffee meetings, conversations that stretched longer than they should have. Jessica was nothing like Sarah. Where his wife was soft-spoken and thoughtful, Jessica was bold and spontaneous. She didn't carry the weight of morning sickness or worry about nursery colors. She didn't wake him at night to feel kicks from their growing child. She was an escape, a fantasy, a version of life unburdened by impending fatherhood. The guilt had started eating at Michael long before Sarah began to suspect something was wrong. He watched her prepare their home for their daughter's arrival, painting the nursery a soft yellow on weekends while he was supposedly catching up on work. Each gentle smile she gave him was another twist of the knife in his gut. "The baby kicked so much today," Sarah had said just that morning, her hand resting on her swollen belly. "I think she misses her daddy. You've been working so late lately." The hurt in her eyes was poorly concealed, but her voice remained gentle. Always gentle, always understanding. It made everything so much worse. Michael looked at his watch. 9:47 p.m. Another late night at the office. Another lie about an important project. Sarah would be at home, probably curled up on their couch, one hand on her belly, waiting for him to return. The thought made his chest tighten. His phone buzzed again. Jessica was suggesting they meet at their usual spot. The same hotel where they'd first crossed the line from friendship to betrayal. Michael could still remember the moment he'd first kissed her, how the excitement had quickly given way to a crushing sense of wrongness that he'd tried desperately to ignore. But tonight was different. As he stared at the message, all he could see was Sarah's face, the way she'd looked at their last ultrasound appointment, eyes shining with tears of joy as they heard their daughter's heartbeat. The sound had filled the small examination room, strong and steady, a reminder of the incredible life they'd created together. He picked up the ultrasound photo, finally looking at it properly. Their daughter's profile was clear, a tiny nose, a curved forehead, a hand raised as if waving. In 3 months, he would hold her in his arms. What would he tell her about honor, about loyalty, about love? How could he teach her about integrity while carrying this secret? The weight of his actions crashed over him like a wave. He wasn't just betraying Sarah anymore. He was betraying their child, their family, everything they'd built and dreamed of together. The excitement of the affair had faded, leaving behind only the bitter taste of shame and the hollow echo of what he stood to lose. With trembling hands, he picked up his phone and typed a message to Jessica. "I can't do this anymore. What we're doing, what I'm doing, it's wrong. I'm sorry, but it has to end." Her response came quickly, angry and hurt, but Michael barely registered the words. He was already gathering his things, his mind focused on one thing: getting home to his wife. The drive home felt both endless and too short. Each mile gave him time to think about what he'd done, about the conversation he needed to have. Sarah deserved the truth, no matter how painful it would be. The thought of hurting her more deeply than he already had made him sick to his stomach, but continuing the lie would only compound the damage. When he walked through their front door, he found Sarah asleep on the couch, just as he'd imagined. An open book about parenting lay on her chest, rising and falling with each breath. The sight of her, peaceful, trusting, carrying their child, nearly broke him. He knelt beside the couch, gently touching her hand. She stirred, blinking sleepily before giving him a warm smile that cut straight to his heart. "You're home early," she murmured, starting to sit up. "Sarah," he said, his voice cracking, "we need to talk." She must have heard something in his tone because the smile faded from her face, replaced by a look of concern. "What's wrong?" Michael took a deep breath, fighting the urge to run from what he was about to do. "I've done something terrible," he began, tears already forming in his eyes. "And you deserve to know the truth." What followed was the hardest conversation of his life. He watched as understanding dawned in Sarah's eyes, saw the moment her heart broke, felt the full impact of his betrayal in her quiet sobs. He told her everything, about Jessica, about the lies, about ending it that night. He held nothing back, knowing that any chance of salvaging their marriage would require complete honesty. Sarah listened in silence, one hand protectively cradling her belly, as if shielding their daughter from the pain of the moment. When he finished, the silence stretched between them like an ocean. "I want you to leave," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I need time to think." Michael nodded, the response he'd expected, but dreaded nonetheless. As he packed a bag for the night, he could hear her crying in the living room, the sound cutting deeper than any knife could. Before he left, he placed the ultrasound photo on the kitchen counter, weighing it down with his wedding ring. It was a gesture of surrender, of acknowledgement. He would respect whatever decisions Sarah made about their future. That night, in a sterile hotel room, different from the one where he'd betrayed his marriage vows, Michael faced the reality of his choices. He thought about his unborn daughter, about the family he might have destroyed, about the trust he'd shattered. The path to redemption, if one existed, would be long and painful. As he lay in the darkness, his phone buzzed one final time. It was Sarah. "I don't know if I can forgive you," her message read, "but for our daughter's sake, I'm willing to try. We'll need counseling and time, and you'll have to prove that you can be trusted again." It was more than he deserved, and he knew it. Tears rolled down his face as he typed his response. "I'll do anything, whatever it takes, however long it takes. I'm so sorry, Sarah." The story of Michael and Sarah didn't end that night. In many ways, it was just beginning. A new chapter written in the ink of hard truths and harder choices. Their journey forward would be marked by painful conversations, slow building trust, and the constant reminder of what had almost been lost. But as Michael lay awake that night, he made a promise to himself and to his unborn daughter. He would spend every day proving that people can change, that mistakes don't have to define us, and that love, real, honest, imperfect love, is worth fighting for, even when we've failed it.